Welcome back to the Grid Challenge. What is it, Volume 3? I'm losing track.
Yeah, 3 for Dale.
3 for Dale, exactly. And Davey is currently in a crouch position, trying to balance his camera. How was Richmond?
Richmond was fun. I actually have a bone to pick with some people because all those people that were saying it wasn't a good race, you needed cautions to have a good race. Jason Schultz, I'm looking at you. It was fine. My thing is, not every race needs to be a barn burner. Not every race is going to be. And not every race is going to be awful. Like, you're going to have some races that fall somewhere in the middle that are going to get the 50% on Jeff Gluck's poll. This was one of them. And even though it didn't have any cautions and on short tracks we expect them, there was a lot of differing strategy, comers and goers, speeding penalties coming from the back to the front, storylines developing throughout, Austin Dillon having the fastest car based on pure speed for the first time probably ever.
Yeah.
Ryan Blaney having another dismal day on the playoff bubble. Like, it was fine. And being there was fun, as always. People there were awesome. And it was just great to see race cars on a racetrack, listening to them, watching them. There's nothing better.
You know, it's something interesting. I actually had dinner with some of the NASCAR marketing folks who were out here in Phoenix last night, and I was asking them, like, how do you define a good race? And it's half based off of fan engagement, fan response, and feedback, and then they look at loop data. And they actually said that the loop data for Richmond was in favor of it being a good race, but the race fans themselves didn't like it. So in terms of passing and excitement, minus the cautions, the data showed that Richmond was a good race. I didn't think it was the best, as you kind of mentioned, but the loop data suggested it was. So, I mean, we'll go off that.
I see loop data I go back and forth with because it can be a little misleading, because I think the reasons why the numbers were up so high on the loop was because that there were no cautions, so there was continuous action and continuous passing. That's why I think there were over like 2,000 green flag passes. So that may be a little misleading, but at the same time, that's a good tool to look at. And like I said, I think we're in agreement here. It wasn't the best race we'll ever see. It wasn't the worst race we'll ever see. It just was, and that's fine. And you're going to have a lot of those races. Does it suck that it was in the playoffs on a short track? Sure. But you can't change what happened. We can only look forward to Bristol, and it's going to be great.
I can't wait. Bristol's this weekend, and we're experiencing this as an elimination race for the first time in NASCAR history. And we had excitement at Daytona to the end of the regular season. Now we're at the end of the round of 16, which, by the way, literally feels like Daytona was yesterday, if I can just say. Right?
Time flies.
Like, literally, first two races, like, where did they come from? But we're already at Bristol to eliminate 4 drivers from the playoff field, and this is just the best schedule, in my opinion. And what's going to be interesting is we've been to Bristol more times, at least the Cup guys have, than previous years. With the All-Star race being at Bristol this year and then running the normal spring race, these drivers are going to have a lot more data, and kind of like Darlington, they're going to go into this knowing what's going on.
Which is good for some drivers, and it also probably will be a detriment to some drivers, depending on how they like Bristol. But the thing that I'm going to look at is Ryan Blaney on the cutoff. He's 27 points below. He's in a virtual must-win scenario. Matt DiBenedetto also in the danger zone right now. He's 25 points below the cutoff. But statistically, I think Ryan Blaney and Matt DiBenedetto, their best tracks are Bristol. And Blaney does not have a win there. Obviously, DiBenedetto doesn't either. But you remember last year when DiBenedetto was in the 95? I said DiBenedetto was in the 95. If Denny Hamlin didn't get by him, he was about to win that race, and that would have been a storyline to end all storylines, right? And Blaney's led, I think, a handful of laps in each of his last 3 or 4 trips there. Earlier this year, he was leading the race when he spun coming off of turn 2. He was fine, had no damage, and then Ty Dillon came in and just smacked the nose off of him. If Blaney can replicate that success that he's had at Bristol for the past 2 calendar years, there's no reason to think that he can't win the race. But there's also this guy called Kyle Busch who hasn't won in a while, happens to be really freaking good at Bristol, and also is really hungry right now to get a win. So if you're DiBenedetto or you're Blaney, you're going to have to win this race to get to the next round of the playoffs. And that is a tall, tall task, because considering the competition that they have, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, I was going to say 27 and 25 points down is going to be a tall task to come at Bristol. But what's great is there are so many unknowns in the playoffs, and you look at Bristol, man, the unknowns are endless when it comes to racing at this half mile. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be really interesting, especially when we get closer to the guys who can make it in on points. Byron down only 3, Custer down only 8. Then you look at the other side of it, Boyers +3, Kurt Busch
Kurt Busch,
+7, Almirola
Almirola.
+7. There is so much leeway for all those drivers to go plus or minus of the cut line. Something that's interesting too, I talked to Kurt Busch during playoff media day about Bristol because he's a guy who's seen success, had to battle his brother and lost in an event and won a race here. And he said that Bristol is going to be different than the first 2 times there, especially with the notebook that they have, because there's going to be a lot more rubber that's laid down versus just racing at the All-Star race, which the conditions were closest to what we're going to see on Saturday night. So it's going to be interesting to see, will the same players who were good at the All-Star race and the first Bristol be up front? Because he tended to think that it might not necessarily be that case, which could be interesting. So I don't know what's going to happen. Let's go plus minus. You know, our brackets are probably already going to be busted.
Done.
But do you want
Busted.
to reevaluate the bottom 4 now that it's a little bit easier to see? I mean, we'll probably still get it wrong, but who do you want to
Probably.
think is out after Bristol?
Even though what I said about Blaney and DiBenedetto, I don't think that they're going to win the race outright.
Yep.
I think that there's a lot more drivers with more consistent speed. And Blaney's had trouble this season, particularly finishing races off in the second half of the final stage. So I'm going to say Blaney is out after this round. DiBenedetto is also out after this round. I want Clint Boyer to go through just from a personality standpoint, but I don't think he gets it done either. Also, that's kind of speaking from my heart because I had him out in my original bracket projections. So I have Boyer going out. And you said Byron was the other driver that's below the cut line, right?
Byron's -3, yep.
Right. I don't know. I don't think Cole Custer's going to get through either, though. Like some part of me thinks that Byron, he had 3 straight top 5s, and then Richmond was not a good day for him. But Cole Custer, something just tells me that a rookie getting to the second round of the playoffs, that's really, really tough to do. And even though he has experience at Bristol, not only this year, but also last year in the Xfinity Series, and even though there's going to be a lot of rubber that's put down from the trucks to Xfinity, ARCA's also going to be there. Something tells me Bristol, elimination race, hands up on the wheel, elbows up. It's going to take experience and being able to root people out of the way to do it. I'm not saying Cole Custer can't do it. I'm just saying I don't think he will. So I'm going to go Blaney's out, DiBenedetto's out, Boyer's out, and Cole Custer is out after round 1.
Interesting. Yeah, I think William Byron, out of the guys who are currently below the cut line, is the one guy to make it in. And you know what's crazy is we're talking about all these guys, and Austin Dillon, you got to go to the complete other side of the top 16 to see that this guy is plus 36 after 2 races. Who would have guessed?
Not me.
Yeah.
Nobody else either. And Jeff Gluck asked him the question on the post-race press conference after Richmond, like, did you expect this to happen? Because I think it's pretty safe to say nobody really expected you to rattle off your best 2 career finishes or your best stretch in a row, back-to-back top 5 finishes. As I said at the beginning, like, he didn't get up there on strategy. He didn't get up there because of, pitting at a different time or short pitting. He legitimately had the fastest car of the entire field. I know Brad Keselowski won the race, but if Austin Dillon, A, didn't speed on pit road, B, didn't miss pit road entry on under green flag stops on the final round, he legitimately could have and might have won that race on pure speed. And the last time that RCR won a race on pure speed was probably in 2013 when Kevin Harvick was still there, which feels like so long ago at this point.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's able to do that, not only just last week, but he was also a lap away from winning the Southern 500. I mean, what this guy has been doing, can he continue it at Bristol? I'm inclined to say no, but I have no reason as to why he can't. You know what I mean? And this is an incredible display of driving that he's doing. Justin Alexander atop the pit box is doing an incredible job. Everybody at RCR right now, it seems like they've pulled together all of their resources that they have. They've been on an uptick this year, and it seems like it's all coming together right now in the playoffs. No better time to have the best stretch of your career for Austin Dillon.
It's so interesting how the flip, like, once the playoffs start, it's a flip of a switch. You figure,
Yeah.
what's the difference between running at Daytona in the regular season and the first race at Darlington? But there is. Like Ryan Blaney said after the Richmond race, I don't know why we started to have our worst two races right now.
Yeah.
It's like the playoffs and that idea of the playoffs gets you. I know DiBenedetto, who's never really experienced this before, said that it's humbling as a driver to race in the playoffs because it can go either direction. It's very interesting to see how different the storylines change from the regular season to the playoffs. Keselowski and Harvick both locked in addition to Hamlin, who's made it in on points. I think it's going to be interesting because Hamlin, even himself, hasn't been as dominant as I would have expected. Now, I know that's asking a lot, to be up front and leading laps, and he has done that, and he has had good results and good enough results to lock him in. But even that, once the playoffs started, it's kind of Hamlin drifted back out of the spotlight in terms of the spotlight we were normally used to seeing him in.
Yeah, Darlington, he ran well for the majority of the race. He led some laps, I believe, and he was in contention to get the win, but a debris caution came out that foiled his strategy, so he wound up being mired back in traffic, and he couldn't maneuver his way through there. So I think he got a top 15 finish, but he had top 5 speed. And then last week at Richmond, again, he did not run that well. And you would think Denny Hamlin, the season that he's having, going to a short track, his home track, he's had so much success there. He's definitely a shoo-in to run top 5, probably going to be on the short list for guys that will win the race. And frankly, he wasn't really that close for the second half of the race. I know that he ran well early on in the event, but after that, he tapered off big time. I don't remember if he just got mired back in traffic. I think he did have a speeding penalty with Austin Dillon as well. So all is right in the world because Denny Hamlin got a pit road speeding penalty. But yeah, I mean, you got to look at the finishes with these races, right? It's good that he has the bank of playoff points to rely on, because if he was in Ryan Blaney's situation and he didn't have all those playoff points to rely on, he'd probably be okay, but he'd be towards the back end and the bottom half of the playoff grid. The fact that he had almost 50 playoff points going into the playoffs, that's the reason that he's already advanced, and that's the reason he's fine. But when you're Ryan Blaney and you don't have those points to rely on, you're SOL.
Yeah. All right, I realize I didn't give you my bottom 4. I kind of answered, and we went on that big tangent there. I think the bottom 3 stay the way they are. Custer, DiBenedetto, and Blaney. I don't think they can make it through after Bristol. I think Byron does. He's only -3, and there's something about Byron and Chad Knaus, and they're slowly getting better and better every year in every single race, it seems like. Yes, in the pressure situation, I mean, look, he rise to the occasion in Daytona, racing his way in when he had to. I think William Byron makes it through. Bowyer, I'm hesitant because he finished 3rd at this Bristol race earlier in the year. I know that was because the leaders took each other out, but that still would have been a top 5 run.
He's still running top 5, right?
Had that not happened. So I'm going to go with Bowyer makes it in. Kurt Busch, he's got the talent, the skill at Bristol to, I think, race his way in. Eric Almirola, only +7. I don't think he makes it after Bristol. So I'm going to go all the way to 10th in the standings. Eric Almirola drops below the cut line and is the 4th guy to go after Bristol.
I can see it happening. Because Almirola, you don't think of Bristol as being one of his best tracks. Bowyer, you can see the success that happened earlier this year. But again, I think the bottom 3 that we can agree on, Custer, DiBenedetto, and Blaney. Blaney, he has the success, but just the margin that he has to make up is too much. DiBenedetto, the moment seems to be getting to him and his team a little bit just because they don't have that experience. And Custer's a rookie, and frankly, he's made it further than any of us thought that he would. But Almirola, I don't know, because during media day, I mean, Jeff Gluck was asking everybody, who is a potential underdog that you may see this year, and a lot of them said Almirola in that 10 car. But again, in the first 2 races, they've shown some speed, but not the speed that you would expect of a car that can contend for wins week in and week out. But I think definitely one that can advance past the first round. But then again, it's Bristol, baby, so you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly. Well, we're going to see what happens at Bristol, baby, this weekend. And I can't wait. It's under the lights. 3 night races. Wait, no, it's 4 night races in a row.
Yeah,
I
4.
love that. I know people don't necessarily love the night racing, but it's awesome. And here in Arizona, it starts at like 4:30. You're done at 8:30, and then
you're getting like you're getting like the matinee show. You can like go see a movie after the race. You can like chill out with your friends. I mean, you're getting the life, because once the race is over, it's probably just like 7, 8 o'clock. You can have like a late dinner and be done with the race. It's probably great for you.
Beautiful. I wouldn't want it any other way. And when NASCAR comes to town here, it'll actually be the latest start time. I think the race starts at like 2:00 local time, which is like so strange. So it'll be
Thoughts
the
and
latest
prayers.
NASCAR start is actually when NASCAR's in Phoenix. But who
Ironic.
knows? All right. That was a good episode of the Grid Challenge. We'll see if we get it right. I mean, it's crazy to me. I think the
I
craziest
doubt it.
part. Yeah, probably not. I mean, at least one of us is going to be wrong because we have
Yes,
different people
that is
exiting.
correct.
I think it's crazy, though. We're not even talking about Austin Dillon. We'll have to see if he can pull through. Make it in
Nuts.
at Bristol. It's going to be an exciting show, and I can't wait to watch.
Before we go, just one message for everybody watching. It's Bristol, baby!